What if I told you that the moment you try to appear strong, you've already lost? That every flex, every "I'm fine," every refusal to ask for help is actually a confession of your deepest weakness? Look around. The CEO who works 80-hour weeks to prove he's indispensable gets fired when the board realizes he's created chaos, not systems. The friend who never admits struggle sits alone when life finally breaks them. The politician who never shows doubt becomes the easiest target for opponents who smell the desperation. Here's the brutal truth nobody wants to face. Your strength performance is a neon sign screaming, "I'm terrified," and everyone can see it except you. But why? Why does trying to look powerful make us powerless? Why do the people who seem most in control lose it all? And what did a 500-year-old Italian political mastermind understand about human nature that we've completely forgotten? The answer will shatter everything you believe about strength, power, and what it really takes to win in this world. Are you ready to face the dark truth about your own mask? Here's what they don't teach you in business school. Machiavelli never said, "The ends justify the means." That's a bastardization of his actual wisdom. What he really discovered, watching princes rise and fall in Renaissance Italy, was far more disturbing. He noticed a pattern. The rulers who constantly flexed their power, who never bent, who made every decision a display of dominance. They were the first ones with their heads on spikes when the revolution came. Why? Because they became predictable, brittle, easy to break. Machiavelli's real lesson wasn't about being cruel. It was about being adaptable. He watched as strong leaders painted themselves into corners with their own image. They couldn't retreat because it would look weak. They couldn't ask for advice because it would show ignorance. They couldn't change course because it would seem inconsistent. So they marched straight into their own destruction, slaves to their strength performance. But here's where it gets twisted. Machiavelli realized that the leaders who lasted weren't the ones who were always strong. They were the ones who knew when to be strong and when to be vulnerable, when to advance and when to retreat, when to stand firm and when to bend like bamboo in a storm. The prince who could cry in front of his advisors when strategy failed. He got better strategies. The one who could admit ignorance, he learned faster. The one who could show fear, he made better decisions because fear is information. Your strength is making you stupid. Your invulnerability is your greatest vulnerability. And the most Machiavellian move you could make right now? Stop trying to be Machiavellian. But why do we fall for this trap? What's happening in our psychology that makes us choose performance over power? Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we choose the exhausting performance of strength over actual strength? The answer lies in a psychological trap that's been hijacking human behavior for millennia. It starts in childhood. Remember the first time you cried and someone said, "Big boys don't cry," or "Strong girls don't show weakness." That moment, your brain made a deadly connection. Vulnerability equals rejection. Safety equals performance. But here's the twisted part. This survival mechanism that once protected us now destroys us. Carl Jung called it the persona, the mask we wear to navigate society. The problem? We forget we're wearing it. The mask becomes our face, and our authentic self suffocates underneath. Think about your last breakdown. I bet you hid it, right? Locked yourself in a bathroom, waited until you were alone, maybe even lied about why your eyes were red. Why? Because somewhere deep down, you believe that showing struggle means losing love, respect, or position. But neuroscience reveals something fascinating. When we suppress vulnerability, our brains literally can't access higher-order thinking. The prefrontal cortex, your strategic, creative, problem-solving center, goes offline. You become reactive, not responsive, weak, not strong. And here's the kicker. Everyone around you can sense this performance. Mirror neurons make humans incredibly good at detecting authenticity. When you're performing strength, people feel the incongruence. They pull away. They don't trust you, they certainly don't follow you. If you're recognizing yourself in this psychological trap, hit that like button, because awareness is the first step to freedom. And subscribe to Mind Revelation, because we're just getting started on dismantling the lies that keep you weak. So what's the real cost of this performance? What are you actually losing when you choose the mask over the truth? The price you pay for your strength performance isn't just exhaustion. It's everything that makes life worth living. And the most terrifying part? You don't even realize you're paying it until it's too late. First, you lose connection. Real connection requires vulnerability, and vulnerability is exactly what you've trained yourself to hide. Your relationships become transactional. People know your achievements, not your struggles. They see your success, not your soul. You're surrounded by people but completely alone because nobody knows the real you, including yourself. Then comes the decision-making decay. When you can't admit you don't know something, you stop learning. When you can't show uncertainty, you stop asking the right questions. When you can't reveal fear, you ignore crucial warning signs. Your strength becomes a blindfold, leading you straight off a cliff. But here's the most insidious cost. You become incredibly easy to manipulate. Predators, whether in business, relationships, or politics, can spot a strength performer from miles away. Why? Because your need to appear strong makes you predictable. Threaten your image, and you'll react. Praise your strength, and you'll comply. You think you're in control, but you're dancing to everyone else's tune. Look at any fallen leader, any spectacular failure, any relationship that imploded. Dig deeper, and you'll find someone who couldn't afford to look weak, couldn't ask for help, couldn't admit mistakes until it was catastrophically too late. The irony is suffocating. In trying to protect your power, you give it all away. In trying to appear invulnerable, you become the most vulnerable person in the room. But what if there was another way? What if the very thing you're most afraid to show could become your greatest weapon? Here's where everything you think you know about power gets flipped upside down. The most powerful move you can make? Show your hand. Admit your weakness. Confess your fear. Sound insane? Let me prove it's genius. Winston Churchill didn't hide his depression. He called it his black dog and spoke about it openly. This vulnerability didn't make people lose faith in him. It made them trust him more. Why? Because they knew he understood darkness, which meant he could lead them through it. Brené Brown built an empire by admitting she was falling apart. Her TED Talk about shame and vulnerability has over 60 million views. She didn't become powerful despite her vulnerability. She became powerful because of it. Steve Jobs' most iconic moment wasn't launching the iPhone. It was his Stanford commencement speech where he admitted he was terrified, that he felt like a fraud, that he was hungry and foolish. That speech created more loyalty than any product launch ever could. But here's the strategic brilliance. When you show calculated vulnerability, you disarm everyone around you. They can't attack what you've already acknowledged. They can't use your weaknesses against you if you've already put them on the table. You become anti-fragile, stronger because of your admitted fragility. And neurologically, when you drop the performance, your brain comes back online. Stress hormones decrease. Creativity increases. You start making better decisions because you're operating from truth, not fear. The most Machiavellian leaders understand this. Vulnerability isn't the opposite of strength. It's strength's secret weapon. But how do you actually do this without appearing weak? How do you navigate this paradox in the real world? This is where Machiavelli's true genius reveals itself, not in cruelty, but in adaptability. The art isn't being strong or vulnerable. It's knowing exactly when to be each and having the courage to switch between them like a master strategist. Think of water. It yields to every obstacle, flows around every barrier, yet it carves through mountains. That's adaptive strength. Now think of a rigid tree in a hurricane. It breaks because it can't bend. That's performative strength, and it's killing your potential. Here's your new operating system. Context is king. In a crisis, people need you to be the rock, calm, decisive, unwavering. But after the crisis, they need you to be human, to acknowledge the cost, process the emotions, learn from mistakes. The leader who can do both becomes irreplaceable. In negotiations, strategic vulnerability is devastating. I'll be honest, I'm not sure this deal works for us is infinitely more powerful than we hold all the cards. Why? Because honesty creates trust, and trust creates better deals. Your weakness becomes your strongest negotiating position. With your team, admitting you don't have all the answers doesn't diminish your authority. It multiplies it. I need your expertise here. Transforms followers into partners. I made a mistake. Transforms employees into allies. I'm struggling with this decision. Transform subordinates into advisors. The key is intentionality. This isn't about emotional dumping or constant self-doubt. It's about strategic authenticity, choosing vulnerability when it serves the mission, choosing strength when it protects the vision. Before we dive into your personal revolution, if this is reshaping how you think about power, subscribe to Mind Revelation and hit that notification bell. We're building a community of people brave enough to question everything they've been taught about strength. So how do you start? How do you break free from the performance that's been running your life? This is it, the moment of truth. You've seen the trap, understood the psychology, witnessed the cost, and learned the alternative. Now comes the hardest part, choosing courage over comfort, authenticity over approval, truth over performance. Right now, as you're listening to this, your strength mask is probably fighting back. It's whispering, "This doesn't apply to me. I can't afford to be vulnerable. My situation is different." That voice, that's not wisdom. That's fear disguised as strategy. Here's your wake-up call. Every day you choose the performance, you're choosing to stay small. Every time you say, "I'm fine," when you're not, you're choosing isolation over connection. Every moment you pretend to have it all figured out, you're choosing stagnation over growth. But here's what's beautiful about this moment. You have the power to choose differently. Right now, today, this conversation. Start small. The next time someone asks how you're doing, try the truth. "Actually, I'm struggling with something." Watch what happens. I guarantee it won't be what you fear. In your next meeting, try, "I don't know, but I'll find out," instead of pretending you have all the answers. Notice how the room shifts when you drop the performance. With someone you love, try, "I need help," instead of, "I've got this handled." Feel how vulnerability creates intimacy instead of destroying it. You've made it this far in this video, which means you're already braver than most. You're willing to question the very foundations of how you've been living. That takes real strength, not the performed kind, but the authentic kind. If this message resonated with you, if you're ready to choose truth over performance, drop the word "authentic" in the comments below. Let's build a community of people who are done with the exhausting performance of invulnerability. Your revolution starts now. The question isn't whether you're strong enough to be vulnerable, it's whether you're brave enough to be real.